This is a pretty more recent concept or something that I've been talking about to help people out and understand the way in which they use their obedience sometimes can cause issues in your obedience. And I call it the loaded spring, meaning like we're putting the dog under this tension where they want to lunge forward. This happens a lot in different ways with like doorways can be one of them, where we make the dog sit at the doorway and then we give them this big release and they just like rush through the doorway, right? At that point when you say sit, the dog becomes a loaded spring, right? They're like sitting there, right? They physically look like they got it together, but like underneath the skin, they're like, whoo, they're like, you know, vibrating with energy because they can't wait to move forward, right? And when we do that, we're reinforcing this whole loaded spring effect, meaning like inside of our obedience, instead of the dog being like calm and collected, they're always anticipating the release, right, towards whatever it may be, whether that's through a doorway, to go say hi to someone, towards food, whatever it may be. So if you use your obedience a lot and you do this loaded spring thing, you can actually create issues inside of your obedience, and you create a lot of like lunging forward behaviors. And I'm not saying lunging in like an aggressive, reactive sort of way. I mean just like the dog lunges forward with energy towards the thing that it's enthusiastic about. And there's a lot of times where like that's not a problem. Like I don't care about the loaded spring, and I don't think about the loaded spring when I play with a dog, right? If I'm just doing play stuff, yeah, I want you to exert energy. I want you to be happy. I want you to run forward, and that's great. But if we're doing things in the house where I need you to be calm, like guests are coming over, right? I'm not doing like a sit, okay, go say hi, right? At that point in time, you're loading the spring up, and then you're releasing it, and it's flying forward, right? Another way people often do this is like meal times. Dogs that get excited about mealtime, they do this whole sit thing, where it's like sit, and the dog is sitting, and like they're sitting there and their tail's going insane, and they're like so excited because they can't wait to eat, and you put the food down, and then you're like, okay, and they like run forward towards the bowl, right? Again, we're reinforcing that loaded spring, and we're using obedience, and it's just not helpful. I actually love to use the place command to feed my dogs, where they're on their bed, I go over, put the food on there. There's no loaded spring effect happening, right? They're not lunging forward with any sort of energy. I'm literally taking the food to them, and they're eating. Feeding in the crate, same thing. If I'm going to feed my dog just openly on the floor, they've already been on the place command, then I say come, and as they're coming, I put the food down. I don't make them wait. They were already waiting, right? But I give them a separate command, they come over, I give them the food, no loaded spring, right? So like if you're a little bit more mindful about some of that stuff, be more intentional about when you want to do that and when you don't want to do that. Because if you're creating a lot of rushing forward effect with certain things and you don't want it and it's frustrating you, and you're trying to get the dog to do it calmly, you might be loading the spring, and you have to think about how can I do this and not load the spring, right? And if you think more intently about that and fix those little issues, that can help your obedience a lot and just overall help the calmer energy of the dog in the places that you need it.